Our pro-life movement has more momentum than ever. Not convinced? Well, don't worry, keep listening. I have a list for you. Hey, Pro-Life Gen, it's Kristan Hawkins. Welcome to this How to Win the Debates episode of Explicitly Pro-Life Podcast. Today I'm talking about us winning. There's been a lot of, media commentary in the past few weeks and just about how the pro-life movement's losing ground. GOP politicians are too afraid to speak about abortion. Therefore, we're not winning. That's just because some politicians are too afraid to speak truth does not mean we're not winning. In fact, I actually think it means we are winning, and they're just afraid of the backlash from the unhinged pro-abortion radical left. So I have 10 points of proof that life is indeed winning in America. And these are in no particular order, so please do not judge me in how I list them. 1, thanks in no small part to Students for Life Action's ruthlessly exposing fake pro-life Republican incumbents, yes, they do exist, in their primaries this past spring, we made the life issue something every Republican is scared to cross pro-life voters on in several states. Why? Because we vote pro-life first. We don't simply just vote for a party. Pro-life voters kicked out more Republican incumbents who weren't acting pro-life. We call them rhinos, Republican in name only, than ever. Even more than even at the peak of the Tea Party wave back in, 2010. This is significant because we did this work last spring, this November, and then that work paid dividends as soon as January 2023 hit and state legislative sessions began. And you're going to see that here in a second with some of the legislation that we finally saw passed. Number 2, we're making progress in changing the hearts and minds of abortion supporters. Our campus tour this semester on campuses called This is Chemical Abortion is changing the minds of 19% of pro-choice students we meet on college campuses. This is the highest we've ever measured. Historically is about 9 to 10%. 7 out of 10 Americans, according to some polls, say that they even oppose late-term second trimester and third trimester abortions. Majority of Americans, when you ask them if they oppose heartbeat abortions, when a child's heartbeat is detected, will actually agree that those abortions are wrong. 65% in another poll said that they oppose second trimester abortions. Most Americans oppose mail order, no test chemical abortions. Majority of Americans oppose taxpayer funding of abortions. Majority of Americans oppose forcing pro-life and religious doctors, pharmacists, nurses, and other medical workers who have conscience beliefs to have to violate their conscience to perform or participate in abortion. We're definitely moving the needle here. And be very careful. I want to warn you, be very careful when you read polls because you need to look at who commissioned the poll, what the question was, what type of information was given to the poll respondents, because you shouldn't be shocked to know that the majority of Americans don't actually know that much about abortion. Number 3, governors who signed some of the best protections against abortions in their state. So Brian Kemp, Mike DeWine in Ohio, Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Marco Rubio, who had to come out and was actually challenged by his opponent this fall on the issue of whether or not he thinks that abortion in cases of rape is wrong. And he beautifully defended children who've been conceived in sexual assault. Every one of these politicians and political leaders who courageously stood for their pro-life beliefs didn't back down, enjoyed success in 2022. In West Virginia, there were state legislative members who we were working with to ensure that there wasn't an exemption put into one of the trigger post-Roe laws that allowed children to be conceived in rape to be aborted. And there was a huge group of members who stood with us to say, no, children conceived in rape have the same right to life as those who were conceived in loving consensual relationships. Those Republican members were told they were going to all lose. Every single one of them who were seeking re-election won. The people who lost in the 2022 midterms in the general election in November were those candidates who weren't clear about their positions on abortion or just flip-flop, like calling Dr. Oz anyone. Number 4, Governor Ron DeSantis broke GOP party fundraising records just days after signing into law the Heartbeat Abortion Prevention Act in Florida, challenging the narrative that he's somehow losing support from it. This is significant. We were very much involved. Florida was one of our target states this legislative session because Florida has the 5th highest abortion rate in the nation. They are the only GOP controlled state in the top 10 of abortion states. So they've had horrendous laws on abortion. We knew their Senate President, Kathleen Pasdomo, she was formerly pro-choice, now she's pro-life, but yet she was telling all of her pro-choice friends this winter, don't worry, I'm not going to let any piece of legislation pass through the Florida State Senate if it prevents abortions in the first trimester. We focused all of our attention, Students for Life Action, onto the Senate President, gathering thousands of petitions, door knocking, educating voters in our district, and the heartbeat prevention bill that prevents abortions at 6 weeks passed through the Senate. Number 5, we're accomplishing more state victories. In the state of Wyoming, we returned for the 3rd year in a row in Wyoming, and we finally passed, because of our work in the primaries and the general elections, educating Wyomingites about rhinos in their midst. I mean, they have bears and they have moose and amazing wildlife in Wyoming, but they shouldn't have any rhinos. So we got back to business in Cheyenne, and we actually saw our first of its kind Chemical Abortion Prevention Act, Total Chemical Abortion Prevention Act, stopping all chemical abortions in Wyoming, finally passed and signed into law. This is massive. It's the first of its kind in the entire country. 6, the federal situation up here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. is not as dire as it seems. With a Republican majority in Congress, the threat to codify Roe, passing the Women's Health Protection Act, which is abortion all 9 months for whatever reason, taxpayer funded, the thing that Democrats keep voting for over and over again, that's virtually, that threat of that actually passing right now is virtually non-existent. Now, I don't know what else they're doing. We really hope we at least see a vote on the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act, which is, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, universally popular. They're not doing that much, but honestly, no news is good news from Washington, D.C., so I'll take it any day. Okay, number 7. I'm at 7. All right, there is a small silver lining surrounding this past year's lost battles. The ballot initiative in Kansas and Michigan, which were heartbreaking. Despite the ballot referendum losses, most of them actually aren't going to impact the number of lives in those states who are lost to abortion, because Michigan had a pre-Roe ban on abortions that actually hadn't gone into effect and was one of the most blue states in the country when it comes to abortion. So while we lost those battles because we were significantly outspent, and I would say there was probably a little bit of a messaging issue there, it's not as bad as, the press has tried to make it out to be, that this is somehow this like referendum on the national abortion narrative. No, when you're being outspent $400 million to like $30 million, it's also just a money problem. All right, number 8, Nebraska. So what was interesting is there was a pivotal vote that came down the state legislative makeup and control. There was 373 votes that determined the outcome of a pivotal state Senate race that has left now the abortion lobby 1 vote shy of filibustering pro-life legislation, which they were able to do in the past session. Because of our intervention of many others in the state, in the election for the state Senate, now we believe we will be able to see a Heartbeat Abortion Prevention Act pass in Nebraska any day now. We already delivered some spines to some GOPers that we felt needed a little reminder to have a backbone, but we're hoping we'll see progress there. We've got a similar situation in South Carolina, where we're fighting right now to get a Life at Conception Act passed. Keep that one in your prayers. Number 9, in North Carolina, we've had some tremendous progress made. So their state Supreme Court in this past election flipped from a 3-4 liberal majority to a 5-2 conservative majority, meaning the likelihood of pro-life laws passing and actually being stuck, they're not being upheld by, not being struck down by the court, actually is greater. And now Republicans have a veto-proof majority in both chambers of the House and the Senate. So the only thing stopping the North Carolina legislative Republicans from passing a law that protects children at 6 weeks or at conception from abortion are themselves. Remember that. And number 10, need I say it? Maybe I will. Within the past year, we finally conquered that major hurdle that the pro-life movement has been striving for 50 years, and that's the reversal of Roe versus Wade, which has made room for all the victories I've already just listed. It's been a great year. I could fill up an entire full-length episode to the extent of all the ways life is winning in America. But whether or not I subject you to my geeking out on this, know one thing and know it well. This is not the time to let up, Pro-Life Gen. It is time to push as hard as ever to ensure preborn babies, their mothers, are safe from abortion, are safe in our nation. We have the news media, the abortion lobby, and even some Republican strategists and consultants all piling in to try to tell us to be quiet about abortion. That never ends well. It never ends well for politicians, and certainly doesn't end well for moms and babies. So now's the time, guys. We got to go all in, and we've got to go all in like never before. Hey, Pro-Life Gen, June 24th, 2023 is going to be an amazing day. Why? Because we are going to be celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Dobbs Supreme Court decision, which threw Roe versus Wade onto the ash heap of history. So, our team at Students for Life, our friends at Live Action, 40 Days for Life, and Pro-Life Partners Foundation have cooked up something very special. I hope you can join us in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, June 24th at the Lincoln Memorial for National Celebrate Life Day and our rally as we unleash a new dream for the pro-life generation. After the rally, we're going to be having a gala that night. That's not a fundraising gala. It's not like a dinner you've ever had, where we're going to be honoring the past heroes of the pro-life movement that ensured we got to the moment where Roe was reversed, as well as honoring those who are going to be leading our pro-life movement into this next era where we finally abolish abortion. So make sure you register now. Register now for the free rally and get your lanyard so you can get in. All you have to do is go to nationalcelebratelifeday.com and register. We'll mail you your lanyard so you can get in to the Lincoln Memorial Rally on Saturday, June 24th. And then if you can choose to stay with us, sign up that night for the evening Celebration of Life Gala. I hope to see you in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, June 24th.